All right, let's get this over with, Leafs fans. Oh my God, it's happened again. I I almost have no words. I have a lot of words though. Um, they blew another 3-1 series lead. Not another, but just another choke job by, in my opinion, one of the top five teams in the league, maybe top three or four. And 4-3 series loss to the Montreal Canadiens, the lowest seed in Canada that made the playoffs, with no superstar other than Carey Price and three 19-year-olds that carried their team. And again, Toronto's top guys did not show up in 7 games. They didn't show up. They didn't do what they were supposed to do. And I think if you want to really simplify this whole thing, that's the reason that they're golfing. Austin Matthews had 1 goal, 4 points in 7 games. Mitch Marner hasn't scored a playoff goal in 18 straight playoff games. That's a problem. It's a huge problem. When your top guys aren't your top guys, you're not going to win. And we'll talk about the core a little bit. We'll talk about, and it's kind of what went wrong. That was the biggest thing that went wrong. But to try to dissect this thing, it's like doing an autopsy on someone that died that had no pre-existing conditions. We have no idea what happened. So, you know, going through this gauntlet of a series, it's the one that I watched the most. Um, I watched game one, game two, I think game five and game seven with Lou, who's a huge Habs fan. So I saw it from his perspective, but at the same time, with no dog in this fight, I tried to look at it both ways. Where, okay, if I was a Leafs fan and I'm watching this team, and then if I'm a Habs fan and I'm watching this team, how are these games going? And man, game seven didn't look too good for Toronto. Oh my God. Let me tell you, when I was watching that game, let's forget about the whole rest of the series, okay? When watching game seven, after that first goal went in, when Gallagher scored, yeah, it's not a nice goal for Campbell to let in. He obviously didn't feel too good about it after the game either. That whole team looked dejected. They looked they looked like they lost already. I don't understand what's going on with the psyche of that team at that point, because there's no fans in the building other than 550, I think, healthcare workers. The whole series, nobody was in the building. No pressure from the fans booing or anything. You're playing an empty arena. Obviously, you still have the media. There's that pressure, but that's the pressure that comes with wearing that maple leaf on your chest. You know that that's going to be something you have to deal with. And they choked it. They choked it. That first goal went in, and it was almost like the game was over. The energy level on the bench, the way that guys are skating around, even on the ice, there was some effort there, but it looked a little fabricated. It was such a weird thing. When I switched and was looking at it from the Leafs perspective, I couldn't believe what I was watching. I really couldn't. And watching it with a Habs fan, who's rightly so, is butt clenching time. Um, it was almost like, Lou, don't worry about it, man. They're gonna win this game. It looked pretty obvious even at 1-1 nothing. I mean, I know you can't predict that that's gonna happen, but that's the way I felt at the time. Just the response from Toronto, and obviously the second goal. Then, oh my God, now it's Panic City, and you could tell in the way they played. Now Toronto had some pushback that third period. Montreal played it pretty well, but they let them come back a little bit, and that's the push. You needed that push, from Toronto. I'm not even counting the Nylander goal at the end. I basically look at that game like they got shut out again. With your high-powered offense, with all your superstars, okay? Now, I'm just going to talk to Leafs fans, okay? There's certain Leafs fans that I know that I actually feel really bad for. And I'm not saying that ironically. I'm not saying it to be a dick. Like, I'm 30. I've seen my team win over here. I've seen them win 4 times in my life. Now I was, 8, 9 years old for the first two. But then it was the wheelhouse of being 13 years old and watching them win in 02, and then like 18, 19 years old when they won in 08. Living and dying with them in 2009 when they lost in game 7. And I remember that feeling. That sucked. And now I'm still a fan of that team, but I definitely don't live and die with them. There's other things in life that obviously are more important. And I know the Wings are poop right now. They'll get better. They're rebuilding. It's going to take some time. It doesn't happen overnight. And I know that. But if I'm watching a game casually and they're not playing well and I don't like what's going on, I change the channel, man. I'll go watch the Leafs. I'll go do something different. And I feel a lot better when I do that. And when they get good again, I'll probably have the same energy towards a game, even when they are good, because, why am I letting this affect my life? And maybe that's the advice that I have for some Leafs fans. The Leaf fan buddies that I know that can look at this team rationally and look at it and go, oh my God. Like, there's a few guys that I thought just watching this game, I went, man, that this is horrible, because they're like, of course, it's happening again. And I think this is even worse than that Boston series years ago, where they were up 4-1 in game 7 and lost in overtime. Because I think in that series, they were they were down 3-1 and they forced a game 7. They came back and they had one really bad period. Even actually a stretch of like 10 minutes and just imploded in a 10-minute span. This was a 3-game span that they choked it away. So for the fans that are rational, that can look at this and go, oh my God, not again. What went wrong? Why us? I do feel bad for you. And my advice is to stop being emotionally invested in that team, because what have they given you in 30 years? I'm 30. They haven't given you anything. They've given you some players that are fun to watch. Austin Matthews is fun to watch. In the regular season, Mitch Marner is fun to watch. In the regular season, Matt Sundin, Darcy Tucker, Thomas Caberlet, Brian McCabe. We can go down the list. And there's a lot of guys that were fun to watch. A lot of guys like to play in Toronto or want to play in Toronto. Well, I will never understand that. A lot of people saying, if you take away that Toronto jersey and put on a different jersey and put them in a different town and all this stuff, they would have won. I don't know, man. I don't think so. There is something to be said that Toronto is a tough city to play in, but when there's no fans in the stands, what are we talking about? So for the fans that are those irrational Leafs fans that, they can't dissect their team. They think their team is always good. Even when the Leafs were garbage, they thought, oh, the Leafs are awesome. Let me tell you something. Look at me when I say this. The other night was the best night of the season for me, because I know that just pissed you off so badly. And it's hilarious to me. I thought it was one of the funniest things ever. Taking aside some of my friends that are living and dying with this, I said, let's separate the two. I felt bad for them. And my advice is to just emotionally detach yourself from this team until they give you a reason to trust them. But the other side, take your medicine, because it's the funniest thing ever. From Montreal's side, a lot of people aren't talking about from Montreal's side. They played a good series after game 4. They're down 3-1. And let's give the Habs fans their due here, okay? Because there's people on Twitter that I don't know personally, but that I follow. Diehards, Montreal this, Habs that. These guys gave up after game 4. A lot of fans did. And I'm not going to speak for him, but I feel like Lou probably did too. I don't think there was any scenario that he thought that these guys would come back and win this series, let alone win game 5. I don't think there was any way he thought that. And it happened. That's why we play the games. That's why when you look at all these people that are making predictions, me included, I don't know shit. I picked Montreal in 7. Did I think this was going to happen? Not a chance. I thought it would be a back and forth series and there would be some goal scoring here and there. And honestly, I thought it was going to be one of those like, hey, we're going to score here. Toronto has a high-powered offense. And I mean, Montreal, let's face it, they don't have a superstar, but Jack Campbell's in the net. You should be able to score, right? And here's the thing. Jack Campbell was not the problem. The defense was not the problem. The coaching was not the problem. Your general manager is not the problem. The problem was all your guys up front couldn't score. Your Rocket Richard Trophy winner had 1 goal. Your top 5 goal scorer in the regular season or point getter, no goals. Your trade deadline acquisition, Foligno, did he score 1 goal for the Maple Leafs? Because I don't think he did. He did nothing. Other than randomly fight Corey Perry after Tavares got his face crushed. Thanks, Nick. See you later. Go wear your dad's hat and, cleaning out your locker now and wear it playing golf and then go play somewhere else next season because he ain't coming back. He ain't coming back. Joe Thornton, he's done. I love Jumbo. He's toast. He looked horrible out there. The one guy, funny enough, we've talked about it in episode 1 or 2 about Mike Babcock scratching Jason Spezza. How the hell good Jason Spezza looked like he was 26 again. He looked good. Bring him back. Honestly, give him a raise, damn it. I like Jason Spezza. He played really well. How do you fix this team? Like, I'm asking Leafs fans, how do you fix the team? Because I tell you what, if you look at their cap hits, you look at their salary, you look at the contracts, nothing's changing. Your core is staying the same. Matthews is coming back. Marner's is coming back. Nylander was your best player, and everybody wanted to get rid of him. He was the best player for fun on the Leafs this whole series. The whole series. And even taking away the goal he scored late in Game 7. But you know what? Give it to him. 5 goals in 7 games. He was your guy. You can't move him. I mean, you can. I wouldn't. Riley's coming back. Brody's coming back. Muzzin's coming back. Anderson's under contract. Where do you go from here? I would love to say I don't know, but here's what's going to happen. There's not going to be this crazy shuffle of the deck. There's not going to be this crazy, we're trading Mitch Marner. Leave him alone, okay? He needs to be better. Matthews needs to be better. You've heard it for a few years. I get it. It's annoying, but they have to figure it out. They're still young, okay? It takes a second. All of this, if you really think about it, all of this is going to help them going forward. You don't think they're going to remember this? How shitty it felt? Of course they are. That's motivation. To do better the next time. Learn from your failures and be better. And it goes to show you that it's a completely different animal in the playoffs. I don't think Sheldon Keefe got out-coached. I don't. I think Kyle Dubas got them what they needed. I really do. Looking at that roster, there's no excuse. So I think it falls to the players, man. You got to be better. I mean, you need to be mentally, a little more solid than they were in Game 7. Because I remember telling Lou, I said, hey, win Game 5. Get that first goal. Scare them a little bit, Maybe that doubt will start to creep in. I don't know how mentally tough these guys are. I'm not in the locker room. It seemed like they weren't that mentally tough. And the funny thing is, they had the veterans in the room. That was the whole reason you got Joe Thornton. It's the whole reason that you brought in Nick Foligno. It's the reason that you had Marleau the last few years. To be that voice of reason, to be that veteran that goes, guys, hey, relax. Play your game. Stop gripping the stick so much. Honestly, stop trying so hard to do it all yourself. They had such a great supporting cast. Now, another thing too, And here's where the dumb Leafs fans come in. Okay, so now I'm just talking to the dumb ones, not the smart ones, because the smart ones already know. John Tavares getting hurt, Jake Muzzin getting hurt. Did it affect the series? We'll never know. Yeah, I mean, that's your depth. At the same time, your best players need to be your best players. They had so much more depth, even without Tavares, even without Muzzin. They should have taken care of the Canadiens easily. They had 3 shots to do it. And they didn't get it done. It's on the players. So there's no firing Kyle Dubas. There's no firing Sheldon Keefe. There's no trading Mitch Marner. I mean, again, that guy makes $10 million something dollars a year, and everybody's seeing what he's doing in the playoffs right now. And you're going to have to give up a boatload for him. You're not moving him. Who are you going to get that's better than him? Really? Tell me right now. Who are you going to go out, trade Mitch Marner for? You're going to get somebody to come back that's going to be better than him. A top 5 goal scorer in the regular season. And just a guy that needs to figure it out in the playoffs. I'll tell you a quick story. A guy, a Red Wings legend, that couldn't figure it out in the playoffs for a while was Pavel Datsyuk. So 2002, they won the Cup. He was a rookie. He was healthy scratched in a lot of the games. He was a rookie. They were still figuring out what he was, and he was dynamite. And, 2003, they lose in the first round to Anaheim. And I think in a sweep, didn't show up. 2004, I think they won in the first round, and they lost to Calgary in the second round. And it was where they had Cujo as a goalie. That's who didn't show up. And then 2005, lockout. 2006, lost in the first round to the Oilers. Sound familiar yet? A team with a lot of talent, young guys, superstar type caliber players, awesome regular season, supporting cast. Shanahan, Yzerman, Lidstrom. You don't have a Lidstrom. I get it, Toronto. I understand what Riley is, not Lidstrom. But a lot of similarities here. First round upsets, great regular seasons. Superstars don't show up in the playoffs because Pavel Datsyuk didn't show up in the playoffs until 2007. And I remember the goal he scored. It was against Calgary in the first round where I went, holy shit, he finally did it. And that was the talk of the town for like 2 or 3 years, is that Pavel Datsyuk was not a playoff performer. Imagine that. Imagine Detroit did some knee-jerk reaction and got rid of him. I mean, there's no way. He figured it out. And then next year they won the Cup. And then next year they made the finals. And honestly, he got hurt in the finals. I think they win the Cup if he wasn't hurt. They go back to back. Screw the Penguins. So the hardest thing to do right now as a Leafs fan is to just take your lump and move on to next year where not everything's going to be kind of the same. And they'll add a few guys. It's not like it's going to be the same exact team. I mean, cap situations, Hyman's a UFA, Spezza's a UFA, Thornton, Foligno. There's some guys that you can kind of fill out, but at the same time, the core, the top 6, the top 4D, it's all the same. And it's going to be kind of the same type of team. You're going to replace a few guys here and there, third, fourth liners. I really don't think that you can make a big, huge trade in this one. I think you kind of have to just go, you know what? We have the team. This is it. Let's get into it next year. And that's going to be a tough pill to swallow for Leafs fans, because then that's the ones where I go, the irrational ones. We want to trade Mitch Marner. Really? You really want to trade him? You're going to be worse. You're going to be worse if you trade him. Because one of these days he's going to figure it out. And the funniest thing would be if they traded him to a team that just burned Toronto in the playoffs down the line. Because that's what would happen, That would happen to the Leafs for sure. So after all of that, it's shocking, but it's believable. A lot of people said this is unbelievable. It's believable, okay? The Leafs feel like the Lions of the NHL, the Detroit Lions. I mean, like, they give you every reason to root for them. And every year it's their year. This is the year. Even now I'm hearing, well, if Aaron Rodgers doesn't come back and this happens and this and that, they're literally like rebuilding right now. What do they expect? Every year they're going to go 12-4 and then they end up going 6-10 and everyone's shocked. Like, really? So I think it's just because they're built to win now, and that's why it hurts more. Because if you think back, if Leafs fans think back to some of those upsets and the way that these things happened with Boston or losing to Washington. Washington went on to win the cup. I mean, they were favored. There was a lot of this stuff where the Leafs weren't favored to win these series. They were favored to win this one, and every expert picked Leafs in 5, Leafs in 6. And this is why you play the games, man. This is why it's a best of 7, because the playoffs are totally different and there's always upsets. And I mean, that's literally the reason why I picked the Habs. I thought, hey, they can beat them. There's a way that they can beat them. This isn't going to be some 5-0 every single game whitewashing by the Toronto Maple Leafs. So, Leafs fans, if the message for the smart ones, take your lump, be patient. They're going to be back next year. They're going to be in the playoffs again and have another crack at it. And I know that's not what you want to hear, but there's no magic wand to wave and go, this is the answer. The answer is to stick with it and hope these guys figure it out. These young guys will figure it out, okay? But you got to stay off them. The media's got to stay off them. Let them fucking play the game, and they'll be okay. That's what they're getting paid for. That's what they're here to figure out. They're still young. But you got to do it in the next few years. That's your window, because all those contracts, right? And you need some young guys to come in and step up. You need Sandin to be better. You need Dermott to be better. You need well, they have a rookie too, Robertson. He's going to come in too. I keep hearing about Timothy Liljegren. I mean, he's got to be something eventually. You need some prospects to develop. Third, fourth liners that can come in and take some of the pressure off of the top guys. But they already have that now. They were supposed to have that now. So I think I've kind of told you everything that you need to know. Me and Bobo are going to do more of these kind of YouTube little article video things. This would have been way too much to talk about on the pod, and we'll mention it. We'll definitely mention it, but I had to get that off my chest because it was like the funniest night of my life, but also I'm thinking of it. Some of my buddies that are watching that game going, oh my God, it happened again. So stick with it, guys. They'll be fine until next year.